What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I'm back to you guys with another video. This video, I'm here with my Detroit Lions 2021 7-round mock draft. And before we get into it, make sure that you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel because I upload NFL videos and NFL content daily. Also, make sure that you guys check out my 7-round mock draft playlist. I'm doing 7-round mock drafts for all 32 NFL teams as we approach the 2021 NFL draft. So when it comes to Detroit Lions, this has been the first Lions video that I've made in the last 6 months. I haven't really talked about the Detroit Lions. The last time I talked about the Detroit Lions was when they fired Matt Patricia and when the Houston Texans were running trick plays on them. So when it comes to Detroit Lions, I really like what Detroit has done so far this offseason. You hire head coach Dan Campbell. You have a new front office. I really like what Detroit has assembled when it comes to a front office and their coaching staff. But I feel like for this front office, they absolutely have to dominate this year's draft. And the reason why I feel like Detroit's new front office needs to dominate this year's draft is because anytime you have a new GM and new faces in the front office and you're a team that is considered to kind of be in a retooling mode, you want to bring in your first draft class to be strong, because pretty much the guys in your first draft class, if you're a new GM in a team that is rebuilding supposedly, those guys are pretty much going to be the staple of your franchise, especially whoever Detroit takes with their first round selection. And that is if they decide to trade down and acquire more assets, because for right now, with their 7th overall selection, I have them selecting the offensive tackle out of Northwestern, Rashawn Slater. Now, Detroit most likely will trade down. They probably will trade down to the middle of the first round. Then they'll have more draft picks and more draft capital, which is what's expected for a team that's supposed to be retooling. And when I look at the Detroit Lions, I think you can't go wrong with Rashawn Slater. This mock draft, I'm not doing any trades. This is just, basically if Detroit was to stay at 7, what would they do? No trade downs in this mock draft. I'm sorry, but if Detroit takes Rashawn Slater, I don't think they can go wrong. He, in my opinion, is the second best offensive tackle in this draft class. He also is a swing tackle, which means he can play both left tackle and right tackle if need be. And when you look at the Detroit Lions, I think it all starts in the trenches. Now, you probably could go wide receiver, but I just feel like there's so much depth in this draft class when it comes to wide receiver. You need to go ahead and take off the tackle. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, well, JT, there's a bunch of depth at this in this draft class when it comes to offensive tackle, which is true. But if the offensive tackle class is really that deep and offensive tackles are really that good that you can find the offensive tackle that is ready to start day 1 in the 3rd round, why is he going the 1st round? If he is that good, shouldn't all the tackles really be going the 1st round if there's so much depth? Because let me tell you guys something. It is way harder to find above average starting caliber NFL offensive tackles in this league. It's even harder to find elite offensive tackles in this game. So if you have a chance to get the best offensive tackle available, you don't just go BS and you don't go cheap on offensive tackle. Like, this is the same lecture I was giving Cincinnati Bengals fans. If you want to win in this league, you have to win up front. It doesn't matter how good of a receiving core you have if you don't have an offensive line. Did anybody watch the Super Bowl? Did anybody see what happened to Patrick Mahomes, the guy who can supposedly win with everybody? He had all his wide receivers. He had, Tyreek Hill. He had Travis Kelce. He had Mecole Hardman. But guess what? He couldn't get the ball to those guys because guess what? He was running for his life back there. So if that is an indication of why off the tackles is important, then I don't know what it is. So if I was Detroit and I was Dan Campbell, I would want to build this team starting with help up front. And I think Rashawn Slater, if Penny Sewell isn't there, I think he would be the next best thing if you can't trade down from 7. In the 2nd round, 41st overall, having to select the linebacker Dylan Moses. Now, Dylan Moses, in my opinion, I still like Dylan Moses a lot. Now, I was a big Dylan Moses advocate before last season began. And then last season began, and Dylan Moses, he didn't live up to my expectations. I feel like Dylan Moses was a top 10 prospect heading into the start of the 2020 college football season. The more I watched Alabama play, the more I watched Dylan Moses, the more I wasn't all that satisfied with with how he performed last year. Now, in the SEC championship game, he got absolutely tore apart by Florida. And Florida had running backs that were doing damage against Dylan Moses. Now, that's not to take anything away from Dylan Moses. I still think Dylan Moses is going to be a really good player in the NFL. He reminds me a lot of Levante David. And I think the second round is a really good place for Dylan Moses to go, especially the Detroit, a team that needs a lot of help on defense. I actually have Detroit going mostly defense in this mock draft because I think that's where they need the most help at. And in the third round, 72nd overall, I think Kerry Vincent Jr. will be a really good pickup. Some people may think this is a reach, but I don't really know. I mean, everybody has different opinions when it comes to where players should be drafted, but I think round 3 is pretty good for Kerry Vincent. You got to think Kerry Vincent is the kind of defensive back that every team is looking for. Now, similar to that Tyrann Mathieu kind of build, he can play slot, he can also play safety as well. He's 5'10", 185 pounds. This guy has incredible athleticism, and like I said, you get the versatility there. You're getting a guy who can not only play safety, but he can also play slot as well, similar to a hybrid defensive back role, similar to what we've seen with Tyrann Mathieu. And every defense is starting to look for these caliber guys who can play multiple positions, and that's what you're getting out of Kerry Vincent. I also think that Kerry Vincent has potential to become a really good outside cornerback if Detroit was to commit to him. But if you're Detroit, you're bringing this guy in, you're going to see what he can do. I really like him as safety, but he also could make a really good slot corner as well if you're Detroit. With their second, third round selection, I have them selecting one of my favorite offensive tackles in this draft class, James Hudson out of Cincinnati. He's 6'5", 313 pounds. He can become a really good left tackle in this league. Now, I know I already had them taking Rashawn Slater earlier, but I think they could also use some more depth there. You can't go wrong. The more offensive tackle you have, the more offensive line help you have, the better. You also could move him inside the offensive guard as well, because at 6'5", 313, he has all the physical tools and all the upside to become a really good offensive guard as well. But he has great agility. But the thing about James Hudson that probably takes him from a late first rounder to a third rounder is probably his lack of experience. He only has like a limited amount of starts, so that's going to improve with time. Not a lot of experience and things like that, so he's kind of raw in terms of mental processing, but you can work on things with that. The more practice reps you get, the more in-game repetition you get, the more experience you're going to get, the better he should become. So if you're Detroit, you select off the tackle Rashawn Slater, then you get James Hudson, you can move him to guard as well. You're going to end up having a pretty good offensive line heading into 2022. Moving on to the fourth round, 113th overall, safety Trill Williams out of Syracuse. I think he's a little bit of an underrated prospect who is going under the radar. He also is a guy who can play nickel or safety as well, but I think he pretty much is a true free safety. He's 6 feet, 208. This guy's a big hitter. Okay, if anybody ever dares to try to catch a pass in the middle of the field while this guy's looking around, they're going to really regret it. This guy is a punisher. This guy is a physical safety. And I like Trill Williams. The reason why I like Trill Williams so much, and the reason why I think he's an underrated prospect, is because you got a lot of these defensive backs coming into the league, like your Greedy Williams and your Denzel Wards, who, yeah, all they want to do is play coverage. Yeah, you can cover, but can you tackle? And these defensive backs nowadays, they're starting to get too soft. Nobody wants to get their hands dirty. Nobody wants to tackle. You don't have to worry about this issue when it comes to Trill Williams, because this guy's a certified smacker. And when I say certified smacker, this guy is a certified smacker. This guy is going to bring some attitude and some physicality to that Detroit Lions secondary. And I think he probably could be a candidate in a year or two who could end up potentially being a starter in the back end of that Detroit Lions secondary. Round 5, their last pick of the draft, 154th overall, I have them selecting wide receiver Daz Newsome out of the University of North Carolina. He's 5'10", 190 pounds. This guy has, the skill set right away to be an impact wide receiver as a rookie. and the slot. Now, he also has the upside that he can be a really good outside wide receiver as well. I think his potential is probably low end wide receiver too, but you also got Tyrell Williams there as well. But if Detroit drafts Daz Newsome in the 5th round, okay, you're getting a guy who immediately is probably going to be really good right away at that slot position. Now, this guy also has quick acceleration. This guy is incredible after the catch as well. And when you're Detroit, you lost your 2 best wide receivers, Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay. You immediately need some guys who are going to come in and make an impact right away. I think Daz Newsome is that guy to do so. So this is it for my Detroit Lions 2021 7th round mock draft. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure that you guys like the video, subscribe to the